A new STOL plane from Volantex. This is courtesy of Banggood. I want to thank them much for sending this for review. This is a fantastic looking little plane. So let's look at some of the details in this first look video. Here's everything that comes with. You get the plane, you get the transmitter. It's a 4-channel plane, 4-channel transmitter. You get a spare prop, you get a manual, you get a USB charger that is a 2S charger, not a 3S charger, a 2S, and you get a spare prop adapter. Okay. All right, here's the details. It's a VolantexRC plane. The model is 76804. It is a ready to fly. Hopefully, on down the road, we'll see a plug and fly version of it or a bind and fly version of it. Wingspan is 500 millimeters. The length is 400 millimeters. The color options at Banggood are green and orange. I also noticed there's a picture of a blue one on the box that it came in, so hopefully we'll see a blue one not too far off in the future. It's made out of EPP foam, which is the most durable foam I've ever come across. It has a 6-axis gyroscope, and if you have flown any of these Volantex planes in the past, you know that their gyros are just rock solid. The remote control is 4-channel at 2.4 gigahertz frequency. The remote control distance is 300 meters. The radio requires 4 AA batteries, which are not included. It has a brushless motor. It is an 1806 1900 kV motor. That is a nice size motor, a nice kV, so it's going to have a lot of torque. It's going to produce a lot of thrust, and it's going to be very efficient when it does that. So the LiPo that comes with it, mine came with 2 LiPos. They're 7.4 volt, 2S LiPos, 400 milliamp hour, and the specs state that it's a 20C LiPo. Now, all of the LiPos that I have received with these ready-to-fly planes that take this specific battery, they're 25C. They're not 20C, they're 25C. So, assuming that the 25C rating on these batteries is correct, it should be able to provide 10 amps of power. Okay. Flight time, it specifies at 10 minutes. The last couple of planes that I have flown with these larger, lower kV motors, you definitely get, even flying it hard, I am going to be getting 10 minutes of flight time on the planes that I previously reviewed. And I think one of the planes that I reviewed had an 1806. I think it was a 2000 kV motor. So this 1900 kV motor will have just a little bit more torque than the 2000 kV motor. So I don't have any doubt that I'm going to be able to get 10-minute flights out of this plane, especially on a 2S LiPo. And it seemed to me like it was going to have pretty good pull on with just 2S. So I think it's going to have really good power on just 2S. You can use a 3S LiPo with it. I will have links in the show notes to the 2S and 3S LiPos. I have purchased 4 of the 3S LiPos that I used in previous planes that were rated for 3S, and I must have like 8 of the 2S LiPos now. It has a steerable tail wheel, which is really nice, and it has these big, fat, all-terrain tires on the main gear, which I absolutely love because of the terrain in which I have to take off and land in. Those wheels are going to be fantastic on that type of terrain. It has a pop-off prop, so it protects the motor and the ESC. You know, if the prop hits something, it'll come off instead of getting stuck. It has a stunt button that you can use to perform rolls and loops. It has a 1-button U-turn. You need to record your launch direction first in order to use that function. Has a 1-button takeoff. Has a 1-button find my plane beeper, which comes in really handy sometimes. You know, if it goes down a good distance away and all that scrub, sometimes I've had to search for a plane for 15 or 20 minutes before I finally come across it. So being able to set this beeper so that it will lead you to the plane is awesome. I wish they all had that. Has a low battery alarm for the transmitter. It has a low battery alarm for the plane, and it has a low signal alarm if you get too far away. It has an inactivity servo lock, and I think it's 30 seconds. I think if the transmitter is idle for more than 30 seconds, it locks the servos. And the reason it does that is because with the gyro, wanting to, if the plane goes down and it's setting at an angle or upside down, the servos are going to be actuating to try and flip the plane over. So they added this feature. The last couple of Volantex planes, I think, that I have flown have had this feature. And that after 30 seconds, it will lock those servos so that they're no longer actuating in order to save the servos, so it doesn't burn up the motors inside the servos. So that's pretty cool. But you want to make sure before you launch it, or before you take off from the ground, just give it a little squirt of throttle, and then move your sticks back and forth to make sure that the servos are not locked before you take off from the ground, or before you launch it by hand, so that you know that you have control of the plane, from the very start. Okay. All right. My plane weighed 124 grams. That's completely assembled, less the lipo. Because I have 2S and 3S lipos, and because this plane is rated for 2S and 3S, I'll give you the specs on both, or the weights on both. My 2S lipos weigh 22 grams, and it's a 2S 400 milliamp hour 25C lipo. My 3S lipos weigh 32 grams, and they are 3S 400 milliamp hour 25C lipos. They look identical to the 2S, just one extra cell. Okay. So my all-up weight with a 2S lipo is 146 grams. My all-up weight with the 3S lipo is 156 grams. So it's still a very lightweight plane, even with the 3S lipo in it. The CG is unspecified, but what I did was I put one of the 2S lipos in it and then just checked to see where it would balance neutral with the 2S lipo in it. And it balanced neutral at about 24 millimeters back from the leading edge of the wing. Now, whether that is where the CG needs to be, I don't know. That's where mine will be when I first launch it, because I'm going to fly it first with the 2S lipo. I'll find out, during the first flight if that's a good CG or if it needs to be moved. All right, so the protocol, and I'm so happy that Volantex has held on to this protocol. They have been using the same protocol for a very long time. The V761 subprotocol 4-channel. They really understand that we like to be able to fly these planes with a hobby-grade transmitter. They realize that that makes these planes even more popular and more sought after. Because if you have a hobby-grade transmitter, you're not going to have to fly it with the toy transmitter. It's just a completely different plane, with the hobby-grade TX. So I'm so happy that they've kept that. So it does bind to a multi-protocol TX. If you have, like me, you have a 4-in-1 protocol, 4-in-1 module, and you have a V761 channel protocol among the list of protocols that are supported. Okay, so I have already bound up to it with the TX16S, and I'm going to be flying it with the TX16S after I put some flights on the stock transmitter. Okay. All right, so the prop has a 6-inch diameter prop. I don't know what the pitch is. And as you can see, I put some painter's tape on one of the blades. I suggest that you balance these props before you fly it the first time. So I've got mine spinning nice and silky smooth, okay? So it's not going to produce any vibrations, and I'm going to get the maximum amount of power and efficiency out of it. All right, so the assembly, all you have to do for the assembly is snap the prop on to the front of the plane, slot the main landing gear in, slot in the tail wheel. One other thing that you want to do is when you bind up to this, always make sure that you calibrate your gyro before you fly it the first time. Okay, I've calibrated mine. Make sure that you put it in manual mode. Make sure that all of your control surfaces are in a neutral position, and if they're not, use those trim tabs, those trim loops on the control rods to get everything at a neutral position before you fly it the first time. Okay. All right, so stay tuned for the maiden flight. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's a wrap on this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the TinkerzLab.